Welcome to the Queen of Hearts podcast. And here's the queen herself, registered dietitian Heather Klug.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Queen of Hearts podcast. I'm Heather Klug, registered dietitian with the Karen Yance Women's Cardiac Awareness Center. With me today is Bethany DeBrew Adams, our health communications coordinator. Hello, Bethany.
Hello, Heather. We were just talking about the state fair pig races, and it's put Heather in a good mood.
Yes, because they're so cute.
All
right, so Bethany, for part 3 of our summer produce series, we are going to be talking about fruits and veggies that are at their peak in August.
Yes.
So peaches, plums, and tomatoes.
Oh, I love all of those.
Me too. We'll briefly discuss the heart health benefits, buying and storage tips, and share our favorite ways to eat these foods.
Yes, that sounds awesome. So let's start with one of my favorites, and that's peaches.
All right, well, peachy keen jelly bean.
Nice Grease reference.
Thank you. I do love how Stockard Channing delivers that line in the movie.
As the 35-year-old high schooler that she is in that movie.
Yeah.
So let's start, like you said, with the health benefits of peaches. Now, I eat them just because, like, the perfect peach, that fresh peach. And you know, because they're not all like that.
Right.
But when you get that one, it's the best thing in the world. So aside from flavor, how good are they for our heart?
Well, that is a great question, and I love peaches too, by the way. For only 50 to 60 calories for a medium peach, you're getting 17% of your daily value of vitamin C.
Okay.
Pretty helpful as we're heading into cold and flu season.
Boo.
I know. Plus 10% vitamin A. Now, this is good for the skin and eyes, ladies.
Okay.
And then there's some healthy minerals like potassium and magnesium. So here's where we get into more of the heart stuff.
Yeah.
This is helpful for lowering blood pressure.
Right.
And then there's also 2 grams of fiber in peaches. And what's interesting in peaches, half of it is soluble fiber. We talked about that in previous episodes, right? How it helps lower cholesterol. And then the other half is insoluble. So it helps push things through.
So it lowers your cholesterol and helps you poop. Again, it all comes back to poop.
All comes back to the poop, yes. And peaches, like all plant-based foods, also contain those lovely antioxidants.
Okay.
Now, the antioxidants in peaches are polyphenols, and they're called lutein, zeaxanthin, I think that's how you say that, and beta-cryptoxanthin.
Okay. Well, I haven't heard of those xanthan ones, but I have heard of lutein, and that's good for your eyes, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct. And antioxidants, just so everybody knows, I mean, they help your whole body.
Yeah.
So think of antioxidants as healthy scavengers. They roam around the body, destroying free radicals that could cause damage and something called oxidative stress. In this sense, they are known to just boost your overall health. Antioxidants help with healthy aging and in reducing risk for many chronic health diseases, including many cancers and, of course, heart disease.
Sure.
There are many different antioxidants, and they each help the body in particular ways.
And that's another good reason why we recommend that you eat a variety of healthy foods and a variety of fruits and vegetables.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's talk next about buying and storing peaches, which can be tricky, as I mentioned, because a lot of times you don't get a good one. So as a stone fruit, they're stored a little bit differently because we've been talking a lot about berries in previous episodes. So how are peaches different?
Now, when buying peaches, avoid ones that are mushy or too soft.
That seems like
bruised, wrinkled.
Common
I know,
sense.
that's obvious stuff. Now, unripe peaches will be firm and will have more of a reddish and darker orange skin color.
And I feel like those are the ones that you tend to find at the grocery store.
Yes, that is true. The skin of ripe peaches will give a little when you pick them up, right? They're kind of soft to the touch. And then as the peach ripens, the skin color is going to change to like a soft golden yellow.
Okay.
You will, of course, also have that wonderful peach smell when ripe.
Yes.
Yes, that's like a heavenly smell, right? Now, keep in mind, peaches continue to ripen after they are picked. So it's okay to buy peaches that are firm.
Okay.
They will continue to ripen at home.
Yes.
In fact, when I buy peaches, I like to get a couple that are very close to ripe, so I can eat some of them.
Right.
So they're going to be kind of slightly soft when I pick them up. And then I buy a few that are firm unless I'm using them in a recipe that calls for several peaches.
Sure. That's an excellent tip. Otherwise, you'd have to you have to come home and eat a whole bunch of them at once
Right.
because they're all ripe.
Yeah.
But, that's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
Maybe we've done that in the past.
I may have done that myself.
So how do we store them once we have them at home? Because I think this might get a little tricky. Is it on the counter? Is it on the fridge?
Right. And I think most people's instincts are like, oh, well, let's just stick everything in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if they're ripe, eat them that day.
Yes.
Or you can extend their longevity by putting them in the refrigerator for a couple days. But if the peaches are still firm, so if they're not ripe already, right, and they still need to ripen, just simply store them on the counter, unwashed, in a single layer.
Take them out of that plastic bag.
Yes, that is very, very important. Or they will ripen way too quickly and they'll start to get mushy.
Okay. And is that a way you can also, say I brought home a bunch of unripe peaches, instead of taking them out right away, if I want them ripened fast, do I just leave them in a paper bag?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Because I have heard that before.
Yes, that's a real big tip. So if you want to ripen them quickly, you can put them in a brown paper bag, kind of like those lunch bags, and then you close it, fold the top over.
Right.
Okay. And then keep checking on them each day.
Yes.
Right. Just
don't
kind of
forget
see.
they're there.
Yeah. Because it takes anywhere from 1 to 3 days.
Right.
Okay. And then if you really want to speed things up, stick a banana in the bag. Because the ethylene gas from the banana will help to ripen them even faster.
Okay, so what about our listeners who are out there? They go to the store, they go crazy because the peaches are there and they're all ripe and they smell so good and they look so good, and then they buy a peck of peaches.
Right? Or from those peach trucks that come through.
Oh yeah, more than you can reasonably eat with before they get overripe and then they get mushy and gross. What do you do then?
Yeah, well, you could have a peach party.
You could.
If you have one, please invite me because I'd love to eat them.
Me too.
Now, if that's not an option, then I would recommend eating a few, certainly. You could turn a few into peach jam, kind of similar to that strawberry chia jam we did.
Sure.
You could also freeze the rest.
I've seen some recipes for peach butter.
Oh, yeah.
Like apple butter.
That would be good, too. So if you do want to freeze them, wash them, cut off the skin, and then cut into chunks or wedges. Place the cut peaches on a baking tray or a plate, like we've talked about with other fruits, and then freeze until solid, and then you can transfer to a freezer bag.
Now, you made that sound easy, but I've tried to peel a peach in the past, and it's not always as simple as that to just get that skin off.
Yeah.
It gets messy.
It can get messy, that's true. So here's an easy method to undress your peaches carefully.
Scandalous.
Yes. Bring a large pot of water to a rolling boil. Score your peaches with an X on the bottom with a paring knife. And then when the water is boiling, place a few peaches at a time in the boiling water. Use a slatted spoon to put them in.
Okay.
Let them sit for just 30 seconds.
Okay.
Maybe a teensy bit longer if you want, but not too long because you don't want to fully cook them, right?
Yeah, you're not poaching them.
No, you're just getting the skin kind of nice and warm. You don't want the flesh inside to be cooking. And then after that 30 seconds or so, remove the peaches with that slatted spoon and immediately place them in an ice water bath for about 20 seconds. Okay. And then you remove the peaches and you rub the skin where you scored it, and the skin really should come away with minimal effort at that point.
Okay. Hopefully it's better than hard boiling eggs and trying to get
It is.
the shell up.
It is, yes.
I'll trust you. I'm going to have to give that a try, and then I'm going to let you know.
Yes, I know you will, Bethany.
All right. So let's chat about the best part, which is how we like to eat our peaches, aside from the fresh, ripe, naked, boom. Done.
Okay. Yes, because that is how I love to eat them, just by themselves. I also like to cut them up and put them in my oatmeal. Oh. And I am lazy. I keep the skin on when I chop them and putting it in my oatmeal.
I'm lazy too.
I don't mind the skin at all. That's what I've been doing recently with the peaches I received from my neighbor. My neighbors have peach trees.
Really?
Yes. And
I wouldn't have thought you could grow peaches.
I didn't know either until we moved in next door. But yeah, they bring us peaches usually like every other summer. So they just brought over a bag of them for our family, and they were so good. Other ideas, certainly you could put fresh, or if you buy frozen peaches, those are great in smoothies. I haven't tried this yet myself, but I bet peach frozen yogurt would be good.
Oh, yeah.
And our listeners out there could use that homemade strawberry frozen yogurt video I did. Watch that. And really, you just substitute peaches for the strawberries in that.
Yeah, we'll include a link to that.
And then maybe add like a little cinnamon and ginger to really complement the peaches. I have made peach popsicles at home before, and those are really good. I also love peach pie, but that's way too much work for me. I love to eat pie, but I don't like to make pie. Yes, exactly. But a peach crisp would be an easier option.
Yes.
That sounds really good. Another thing I haven't tried yet, but would love to, is roasted peaches with a little cinnamon and sugar. Doesn't that sound good?
It does sound good.
Yeah, there's a dessert I make in the winter, and it has canned peaches in it, canned pears, canned pineapple, and they're baked in like a butter sauce with cinnamon, ginger, and nutmeg.
Ooh.
That's really good, and it makes your house smell really good.
Okay.
And then one last thing I want to mention. So recently I came across, it was called like peach Bellini.
Oh, yeah. It's like a mimosa, but with peach puree.
Yes, and it looked so good. It makes me want to celebrate Mother's Day in August. Your birthday is coming up, though, Bethany.
Is, yeah, in just a couple weeks.
You tell me if you like this, and I'll make it for your birthday.
Okay.
So you cook fresh peaches and sugar and lemon juice, and then you just puree it in a blender. And then you add the peach puree to a champagne glass, and you top it with Prosecco.
The answer to that is yes. So I will expect one of those to be delivered to my house on my birthday.
Okay. That
by
sounds good.
you.
So how do you like to eat peaches, Bethany? I know you love peaches.
I do. Peaches are like, well, first of all, I'm a little sentimental because my dad's nickname for me was Peaches.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yes. But aside from that, like, they're just one of my favorite fruit. And I think it's just probably one of those things where it's so rare to get, like that perfect peach.
Okay.
I don't tend to like canned peaches. Like, we had way too many of them in elementary school that I have like...
It turns you off now, huh?
Yeah, I just look at them and...
I still like them. But...
They just look so sad. I'm
okay.
Just like, but like, I love a good peach popsicle. I found some and this is not me, advertising because I'm not getting paid to say this, but Outshine makes a really good peach popsicle.
Okay.
They literally taste like fresh peaches frozen. I mean, they're so good.
Okay.
I like, like peach cobbler, like a fresh peach cobbler with a little bit of vanilla ice cream.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I was in Atlanta a few years ago for a conference, and I ate a lot of peach whatever because it's Atlanta, Georgia. Like, that's what they do. And I had an amazing peach cobbler at my hotel. It was just unbelievable. Those are like you, I like peach pie, but again, it's really a pain in the rear end to make, so I don't tend to make it.
Okay.
So, but if other people want to make it for me, I will gladly eat it. But yeah, peaches are just one of those things that just I'll stand over the sink and just eat one and let it just drip into the sink. Like, so good.
Sounds good.
So like I said, they're not my favorite, but what about buying canned peaches or frozen peaches? I've used frozen peaches, like you said, in smoothies.
Okay.
But am I still getting the nutrition?
Yeah, I know what you mean. So fresh and frozen are the most nutritious, right? Canned peaches or the peaches in the little plastic cups are a great alternative, though, okay? You'll have slightly less fiber and antioxidants.
Okay.
And sometimes the canned peaches and peach cups can be high in added sugars, though,
Yes,
right?
There's syrup in there.
Yes. So look for ones in water or in their own juice instead of the syrup.
Okay. So now, as much as I love peaches, let's move on to another one of my favorites, which is plums.
And is it a coincidence that yum rhymes with plum?
It is not.
I love plums too.
Yeah. I mean, the stone fruits, I think, peaches, plums, cherries.
Okay.
But first things first, why don't you let everybody out there know about the heart health benefits of plums? Mm-hmm. Take care of business up front here.
That's right. So similar to peaches, plums, another stone fruit, also contain a variety of vitamins, minerals, and fiber. And you guys will like this part. There's only 30 to 35 calories per plum.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. But the big standout for plums are the antioxidants. That dark red, almost like purple color, are the anthocyanins that we discussed when we talked about strawberries and raspberries and all those other berries.
Yeah, those anthocyanins are really good for our heart, right?
Yes. Studies show a connection between eating anthocyanin-rich foods and protection from heart disease. Since this podcast is about women and heart disease, I'll mention a study. Yeah, I'll mention a study on postmenopausal women. In the Iowa Women's Health Study, 35,000 postmenopausal women without heart disease had their diets assessed, and then they followed them for 16 years.
Wow.
Researchers found that consuming anthocyanin-rich foods even once a week was associated with a significant reduction in death from cardiovascular disease and coronary artery disease.
Wow, that's impressive for just once a week. Even.
Right. Here's another impressive study. The Nurses' Health Study 2, with over 87,000 women, and the Nurses' Health Study 1, with over 26,000 women, found that women in the highest quartile for anthocyanin intake had a significant 8% decreased risk in developing high blood pressure compared to those in the lowest quartile. For women under the age of 60, there was an even stronger risk reduction of 12%.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, the last study I'll mention on anthocyanins was a larger group of women from the Nurses' Health Study 2. 93,000 healthy women were followed for 18 years, and those with the highest anthocyanin intake had a significant reduction of having a myocardial infarction or heart attack. Eating 3 or more servings of anthocyanin-rich foods a week led to a 34% reduced risk of heart attack compared to those who consumed fewer.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
I know.
Do we know why there's such a decreased risk for CVD and for heart attack?
Well, the thinking is that the anthocyanins help with keeping blood vessels strong and elastic. We've talked about that before, right? Anthocyanins help keep blood pressure in a healthy range. If your blood pressure is lower, this means your vessels will be strong and elastic, right? High blood pressure leads to little tears, and then cholesterol and other substances like to fill in these tears. Mm-hmm. And over time, this leads to narrowed and stiff blood vessels, which can lead to an increased risk for heart attack or heart disease.
Right. And ladies, we really want to keep our blood vessels healthy, among other things. But, that's right up there. I like that the studies showed that you don't have to eat massive amounts of these foods to get the heart disease prevention. Like 3 servings a week is actually very doable for most people, I think.
Yes. And remember, a serving is just a half a cup to sometimes 3/4 of a cup for most fruits. So it's not a large amount. Eat a variety of anthocyanin-rich foods, though. It doesn't have to be just plums.
Right.
But when plums are in season, eat plums.
Yeah.
When berries are in season, eat the berries.
Right.
Red grapes are another
Share
great
the love.
source. Buy the frozen version of these foods when possible, too, when these foods aren't at their peak.
Yeah, and don't forget the dried versions of these foods. We tend to forget, dried berries or raisins or prunes. Mm-hmm. It was hard for me to say prunes because you know how I feel about them.
Bethany doesn't like prunes. I like prunes. I think they taste good.
They make like different flavored prunes now.
They do
too, which
I
might
just like
help
the
a little
regular ones. I think they taste better.
Okay, Grandma.
Now, those are all great options as well. Just remember portion control with the dried fruits.
Right.
Generally about 1/4 cup a day for those because the calories add up a little faster.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Just 1/4 cup. Now, with plums also being stone fruits and similar to peaches, buying and storing them is going to be similar, correct?
Correct. When buying plums, I think this is obvious, but look for the smooth, taut skin, never that wrinkled skin. Kind of like how we want our own skin to look.
I was going to say, it sounds very ageist. smartest of us.
I guess. That's just what's recommended for plums.
This
Sorry.
is true.
Your plums should feel firm, but they should give slightly when pressed, when they're
Don't
ripe.
press too hard if you don't intend to purchase that plum.
Yeah. The skin should also have like a light waxy appearance. This actually indicates freshness, and the fruit should also be sweet smelling. This is probably obvious to avoid plums that are bruised or have tears or big gashes in them.
I have a question that you may not know the answer to. What about that kind of dusty, like sometimes plums have that kind of whitish, dusty-ish
Yes, that's
coating.
kind of what I'm...
Is that the waxy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that is, I know, you might think like, ooh, that they're bad or something. No,
Right.
that actually indicates they're very fresh.
Okay.
Yes,
Good to know.
there we go. And then storage is similar to peaches. If ripe, eat them right away or put them in the refrigerator for a couple days.
Sure.
And then unripe plums, you store them on the counter, or you can use that paper bag trick to speed up the process.
Okay.
I've never frozen plums before. Have you ever done that?
No.
Okay. But apparently you can do this. Just make sure you cut and remove the pit.
Obviously.
Yes.
I would think that is obvious, but maybe
Okay.
not. So again, let's move on to the fun part, eating them.
Yes.
So how do you eat your plums, Heather?
Like most fruits, I like to eat them in their pure form, certainly. Last year, though, I made a roasted plum sorbet.
You did. You brought me some. It was so good.
Yes, it was. And my younger daughter now asks me to make it all the time.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Even in the winter, she'll be like, can you make some of that roasted plum sorbet? Plums aren't in season. We got to wait till summer for that one. But it's so good. And it's really not too putsy to make, which is nice.
I like recipes like that.
Yeah. Other ideas for plums could be to cut them into slices. You could dip them in, vanilla yogurt. You could turn them into a jam or a sauce. Chopped plums could be added to whole grain side dishes like whole grain couscous, brown rice, quinoa. Now, because of their vibrant color, I could also see them sliced and put on salads.
Okay.
I have not eaten them that way. I'm
Yeah,
not quite
I
as
haven't either.
adventurous with that, but I've seen pretty salad pictures with them like that. And then certainly plums are great in many desserts, right?
yeah.
Like a plum crisp, cobbler, or pie would be delicious. I also envision, this sounds really good. I think I might try this. In my head, I'm picturing sliced and toasted French bread with a spread of goat cheese on it, or you could use ricotta, and then cut up plums. Put some plum slices on top of that.
That would be really good.
Yes. Now, how do you like to eat plums, Bethany?
Fast. Because I usually
Fast.
I feel like I get real excited and then I buy them and then I eat one or two and then there's always like one that gets forgotten about. So I try to eat them fresh right away. It's interesting. Like I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I don't really put them in a lot of stuff. I think I just like to eat them just straight up.
Okay.
But I've had them in like a tart, like a plum tart. So just like a little, like a skinny pie, maybe, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably the only other way I've eaten them. But I'm assuming like, much like peaches, they might be good on the grill too. That's another way I forgot to say that I like to eat peaches.
Okay.
But just putting them on the grill and just sweetening them up a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a purist when it comes to plums,
Okay.
I guess.
All right. That's okay.
Well, let's move on to, technically this is a fruit, but we all think of it as a vegetable. But is it a fruit? Maybe you can answer that, Heather. It's tomatoes.
Yes. So botanically speaking, tomatoes are fruit.
Okay.
But we count them as a vegetable because of the way they taste and how we cook them.
I don't know. I've had some that are pretty sweet.
Okay. I always think of them as a vegetable. But whatever you want to call them, tomato. Tomatoes are very heart healthy.
Yes.
Okay. I think we've mentioned this before, but if you cut a tomato, you'll notice it has 4 chambers, just like your heart.
Aww.
I know. Sometimes the foods we eat resemble the body part it takes care of.
And you cut out all the middle part and scoop it all out. You wouldn't do that to your heart, though.
No.
So how are tomatoes good for your heart? We know they look like them, but...
Yeah, I mean, I could overload you with all these, great nutrients, but tomatoes really have 2 key nutrients that impact your heart.
Okay.
First one is potassium. We've talked about this mineral several times, and
Yep.
Queen of Hearts podcast, because getting enough potassium helps dilate your blood vessels and keeps blood pressure lower, which protects your blood vessels. The second one is lycopene,
which we hear about a lot with tomatoes.
This is an antioxidant that helps reduce inflammation and prevent damage to cells. Some research also shows that lycopene may also lower LDL, lousy cholesterol, and helps keep blood from clotting, which also helps reduce risk for stroke. And the redder the tomato, the more lycopene it contains.
Interesting. So what about, because there's also like orange tomatoes and yellow tomatoes. So do they contain lycopene or only the red ones?
Yes and no. So orange tomatoes contain cis lycopene, which is actually even more absorbable than straight lycopene.
Interesting.
I know. And then yellow tomatoes are very low in lycopene, but they're high in a different antioxidant called beta-carotene.
Like you find in carrots.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
Now, another question for you, because you are our nutrition expert here. I've read that when fat is added to the tomatoes, your body actually absorbs more lycopene. So is that true, or is this something that was concocted by people who were putting ketchup on hamburgers and they wanted it to be true?
It absolutely is true.
Okay.
Yep. Lycopene is fat soluble. But I want to point out two important things here. Okay.
Here comes the hammer.
Yeah. Well, sort of. You can still eat tomatoes by themselves if you like. Okay.
Yes.
You can eat them raw. You don't have to add fat to them. They're still very nutritious. You're still getting potassium. You're still getting fiber. You're getting other great nutrients, right?
Okay.
Fat does help absorb more lycopene.
Okay.
But I'd recommend sticking to healthier fats like olive oil and avocado, or even just a little, natural cheese.
So in other words, don't drown them in butter. Don't necessarily slap them on a big fat hamburger.
Right.
Okay.
Don't have a tomato in one hand and a stick of butter in the other. Like,
Ew. Ugh.
no, not that anyone would do that.
Speaking of State Fair, that seems like something they might create for something to
Right?
eat there.
Yeah,
Well,
does.
so let's move on to eating tomatoes. On that note.
Yeah.
What are your favorite ways to eat them?
Well, I love tomatoes both raw and cooked.
Okay.
I like to eat cherry tomatoes for a snack, or I'll bring them as part of my lunch. I like tomato slices on sandwiches and burgers. I put tomatoes in mixed dishes, like that Mediterranean quinoa dish. I'll
Yep.
do this for a future cooking video.
Okay.
And I also like to put it in cooked eggs, like in an omelet maybe, or in scrambled eggs. And then I also love bruschetta, or bruschetta, I guess as it's supposed to be called. Tomatoes, basil, garlic, and olive oil are just so good together.
Yeah. That's like the perfect combo.
Oh, I love that. I also love chopped tomatoes on a salad, and I use them a lot when I make salsa.
Okay.
For a quick dish, when I have leftover pasta, I'll chop tomatoes and saute them briefly in olive oil with garlic powder, onion powder, and basil, and then put this over the pasta and then top it with Parmesan cheese. I also love tomatoes and things, certainly like chili and spaghetti sauce.
Yeah.
Just
the standard.
yeah, so many good options. How do you like to eat tomatoes, Bethany?
I like them in everything. I feel like I like them in everything. But because you know me, because it can't just be straight up. So I like raw tomatoes. I really like cherry tomatoes a lot. I've been eating cherry tomatoes like as a snack since I was a little kid. Love them, love them, love them. I like regular tomatoes, but I don't like them on any other sandwich other than a BLT.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't like them on burgers. I don't like them on...
What?
Maybe I would occasionally put them on a grilled cheese sandwich, but
that
yeah,
sounds good.
But I really don't tend to like the texture of cooked tomatoes as such. So if I'm gonna have tomatoes heated, it's probably gonna be like as a sauce.
Oh, okay.
Or something
All
like
right.
that. And I have a recipe that I do with fresh tomatoes and pasta, kind of like yours. I think we add like some fresh mozzarella and we add olives and stuff, because if I can have
Okay.
olives in something, I'm gonna have a bajillion.
I should add
olives.
that to mine.
Yes.
I like olives too.
I love this time of year a fresh caprese salad with heirloom tomatoes, that fresh mozzarella or burrata, and then
Yeah.
fresh basil, like
Yeah.
straight out of the garden. That's my idea of heaven. I had a salad at Serendipity 3 at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. several years ago, and I still dream about that salad.
Really?
Yes. The tomatoes were like nothing I've ever tasted before.
Oh.
So
There's nothing like a good tomato.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, eat them now when they're so good.
Yes, because Lord knows once we get to January and you start getting those sad, like tomatoes at the store.
Like they sometimes look okay, but they just don't taste as good.
No, it's like eating air, like kind of mealy air.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what about canned tomatoes? Because I know like when I've made my own pasta sauce or whatever, I'll use canned roasted tomatoes, those kind of things. Are those just as healthy?
Yes, they are. First, tomatoes are harvested quickly and then they're processed right away, which locks in the nutritional value. Everybody should know that. And then secondly, your body absorbs even more lycopene from the canned tomatoes.
I have heard that. It's like the cooked, something about cooking them, right?
Similar to fat helping to absorb more lycopene, heat does the same thing. It opens up the cell walls of tomatoes and allows the lycopene to get released. Because tomatoes are cooked during the canning process, more lycopene gets released from the tomatoes and then absorbed by the body.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But we want to make sure to buy canned tomatoes that are labeled low sodium or no salt added, because they tend to put a lot of sodium in canned tomatoes and tomato sauce, and that makes your blood pressure go up.
That's right. Okay. And most stores should have those options available these days.
And they're usually right next to the other ones. You just have to read the label.
And they're not super expensive, which is nice too. So I probably use those more in the wintertime, I would say, because, you know, fresh tomatoes just aren't in season and don't taste as good.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you to all our wonderful listeners for hanging out with us today and learning more about the heart health benefits of peaches, plums, and tomatoes. Keep finding ways to eat those fruits and veggies, everyone, to help reduce your risk for heart disease. If you like what you hear, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and remember to tell your friends.
And leave us a review while you're there, too.
Yes. So thanks for listening today, everyone. And as we always say, be the ruler of your own heart. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us on the Queen of Hearts podcast. Our podcast is recorded here at the Karen Yance Women's Cardiac Awareness Center inside Aurora St. Luke's Medical Center in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. For more heart-healthy tips, info, recipes, and more, visit our website at www.karenyancecenter.org. Like us on Facebook at Karen Yance Center, and follow us on Pinterest. If you like what you hear, subscribe to our show and be sure to tell your friends. Until next time, ladies, be ruler of your own heart.